Welcome to Wealth Wednesdays with AJ and Crystal. This month's series, we're going to focus on what AJ is investing in. And by AJ, that means also me. I mean,
it's us.
We got one bank account, okay? There's no split bank account, split finances around here, right? So that's what we are investing in. So with that being said, I want to go ahead and jump right into things and get you guys as much information as you can get as possible during this 30 minutes. And make sure that you can now start thinking about the ways that you want to invest, okay? This won't be strictly about our real estate investments. Clearly, we do diversify our investments. They're mostly held in real estate, we're being completely honest with you. But of course, we're also in the stock market. We also have different types of insurances and things of that nature. But we're going to focus today on what we do by way of real estate. Really quickly, housekeeping, as we mentioned with this first session that we had, that our goal, of course, is to make sure we can impart some of the things that we've learned along the way onto all of our just friends, family, extended friends and family, our colleagues, our peers in the industry. We feel that we need to pay it forward, and this is our way of doing so. Just so you know, we are going to be kicking this off every month of the year of 2023. And if we get some great success, we'll keep doing it in 2024. So right now, today is what is AJ investing in? Next month, we're going to be doing our on-site investment seminar. And of course, you see the other topics that are coming up. So make sure you register for the webinars and you'll automatically get the reminders for the next sessions. Our April session will take place on April 12th, so the first Wednesday. We will be enjoying spring break. So, we'll apologize in advance, but we will see you guys April 12th. We will send out a survey for you to be able to sign up to come to that event. It's going to be in person, so make sure you stay tuned for that, okay? Also, as you notice, the end of the calendar in that fourth quarter, we do not have specific topics. So if there's anything you want to hear us talk about, definitely send us a message and we'll make sure we add that to the list. We wanted to keep that open for anything that you specifically might want to get addressed, okay? All right. We're going to keep it moving. My mouse doesn't want to work, but we're going to move anyway. Quick housekeeping. We like to put our disclaimers out there. Crystal and Alan Johnson, we are not tax professionals, okay? So make sure you are reviewing your tax strategy with your tax professional. And of course, keep in mind that all investments have inherent risks. So always work with a proven professional, right? So you have to make sure that each strategy that you see here tonight, or that you may hear from someone else, it works for you and your family. So make sure that you're asking questions and that it actually works for you and you're working with professionals, okay? Like ourselves. Okay. All right. We're hiring. So if you know anyone who's looking for an amazing career in real estate sales as an agent, you see the email address. Contact us at careers@ajteamrealty.com. We'd love to talk to them. We'd love to help them jumpstart their career in real estate. Okay. Moving right along. We love referrals. We're not going to let you get away without hearing about how we love referrals. So with that being said, really quickly want to kind of talk to you about referrals and how you can help pay it forward to the AJ team for the wisdom that we hope that we're giving you today. Basically, that's the team. We want you to know we are a top team here in the Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, Southern Maryland area. We have done a lot of business. We're ranked 1% of realtors nationwide. We are a service-based real estate team. We love to connect with our community, to go deep in the community and give back to our community, okay? As I mentioned, DC, Maryland, Virginia, you have anyone who's looking to buy, sell, invest in real estate, whether that be residential or commercial or anything in between, get in touch with us. We'll be more than happy to help them. Okay. We also can help you with any of your needs nationwide. So if you are moving anywhere within the country, if you have friends, family, coworkers, colleagues moving anywhere within the country, feel free to send them to us. We have a huge network of agents. A lot of them are on the phone tonight that we talk to, we coach with, we connect with on a regular basis. They can certainly help you. We have already vetted them. They'll be a great resource for you and your family or friends. Okay. Also, I know how hard it is when you're trying to refer someone. Sometimes it feels like a big task. We want you to know your only job is just to connect us. We do not need you trying to sell us. We just want you to connect us, okay? So all you have to do is make a text message similar to this one. Text, email, any of those things work. Hey, Alan, meet John. John, meet Alan. Think you two should connect. That's it. Simple as that. We'll take it from there, okay? All right. Only thing that we ask is that you just be intentional. So if there's an opportunity for you to be able to connect us with your friends and your family or anyone that you know or a coworker, just be intentional. Make sure you make that connection. It will truly, truly help support our business and help the initiatives that we're after with our foundation. So definitely make sure you make those connections for us, okay? And here is how you send them. You can go to our website, referajt.com, fill out the form. That will get it to us. You can send us an email to connect@aj18realty.com. Or, of course, you can send a text message to the number below. You'll have all this information in our follow-up email. So thank you so much for your attention to that. And we're going to get back to the business of the night. So was that fast?
That was dope.
Hey.
That's quicker than I did it. Like it took me like 15 minutes to get through that last time. You got it done in 6 minutes.
Hey, we try to get it done so we can get to the meat and potatoes. So cool. I have the pleasure and the honor today of interviewing Alan about all the strategies that he has our family participating in as it comes to investing in real estate. And one of the things that I wanted to ask Alan tonight was that when you think about your total investment strategy, one of the things that you mentioned to me before is that your number one thing is that you first got to invest in yourself before you even started, thinking about how you wanted to invest your money. Can you talk about that a little more?
Yeah. Thanks for having me on Wealth Wednesdays.
You're welcome.
The mindset really was when we first got married, we really talked about our strategy, right? And we talked about the fact that we wanted to leave a legacy, right? That we wanted to live a certain lifestyle. So a lot of our conversations about real estate started 15 years ago, right? Yeah. And it wasn't really about real estate sales. It was about what we felt like real estate could do for our families. I had the benefit of watching my dad actually own a business. Many of you guys, maybe I'll get my dad on one of these. I think that would be dope. Yeah. If you want to see my dad on one of these later in the year, go in the chat. But he was very intentional about using real estate to create a lifestyle, right? And it wasn't the lifestyle that people on TV show. Yeah. Like I saw my dad work. I saw my dad, he looked more like the handyman than the landlord. I saw my dad early mornings, late nights, take risk, really like build out a plan to use real estate to level his family up. Yeah. Right. And there's a difference between someone who wants to invest in real estate to make money and someone who wants to invest in real estate to create a legacy. Right. The people who want to just get money, those aren't necessarily people I'm really interested in investing with, right? Because ours doesn't mean that they're bad, doesn't mean that it's just our investment mindsets are different. Like I'm looking for things that are beyond the deal. I'm looking for the relationship. Yes, the deal has the work, but I'm also interested in doing life, right? And making sure that this is a lifestyle play. So whenever I talk to my dad about real estate, he's always talking about leaving real estate for his grandkids. He's always talking about, I'm working hard for you to be able to have a lifestyle. I'm working hard for this. I'm doing this for these people. And when you start to have a mindset that you're doing this type of thing for other people, that's when you start to get the blessings. That's when the deals come. Like I talk to my dad every day, and every day I talk to him, he's going to look at another deal. And he never shops for a deal. Yeah. Deals come to him. Like literally, he's like, yeah, I'm going. He was just before I got on here. He's like, I'm headed down to the country. I'm going to look at some land. This person who, it was funny. I told you the story. There was a young girl who was saving to go to Disney, right? My dad ended up giving her last $300 to go to Disney, right? And he said he didn't do it with the intent to get anything. He said that the next day, the guy's daughter, the father of the daughter called my dad for a real estate deal that my dad's not going to take a look at. Yeah. It just happened that quick. But my dad never gave the $300 to get a real estate lead. It was just who he was. Yeah. Right. So that's the difference between somebody who's transactional and relational. And when it comes down to your mindset. Okay, cool. And how did you make sure that you were prepared to step into real estate outside of mindset, more so like getting educated and things of that nature? How did you get yourself ready? Yeah, I really, there are lots of different ways you can invest. Like we started off buying and flipping, then we went to apartment buildings, then we went to land, and then we went to ground up. Yeah, I think it was just like figuring out what lane best suits what your goals are, right? So buying and flipping felt like a lot of work. It just felt like a lot of work. And then when I started to pay the taxes on it, I was like, oh, like capital gains, I got to pay like 40% on top of all this work. It was good for the moment in my life, but it wasn't like how I wanted to mature in real estate. So
the sustainability of it, right? It's just hard to keep that pace.
You got to find a deal. Like every time you got to find another deal. It's like, it felt like sales to me, right? It was sales, to be honest. But when I started to get into started to go out and like hear other people's stories about how they invested, I started to craft what I wanted for myself, right? And I don't think that there's one specific person that I mimicked. I took little pieces from different people. Like first I was like, all right, cool. I want to make sure that when I invest, it's passive income, it's long-term income. I don't want short-term income. I like what I heard in this podcast about multiple exit strategies. So we'll talk about the land deal here in a second. That was a deal that was about multiple exit strategies. When I went into it, I wanted to have a couple of ways to be able to get in and a couple of ways to be able to get out. And then it's on my phone. My daughter has my phone right now. She always has my phone. I set aside 2 hours per week to work on wealth. Yeah. Literally 2 hours. And it's a time during the day. I turn my phone off and I focus on something that's related to wealth. And if you're not that serious about like the education that it takes, if you're just fleeting and you don't have a plan around how you're going to get educated, then you're never going to get to the level that you want to get to, because you're just willy-nilly it. You're just like, whatever comes, it comes. And that's what happens with your real estate deals. Whatever comes, and nothing never sticks.
Yeah. And I know that we can admit that we've been there before, right? It's like you always have a certain level of talent, right, that will take you to a certain level. If you really want to cross the threshold, you got to buckle down and really get focused on what it is that you're after, right? So I heard you say, you talked about how you already knew your goal. You understood like you had to get your mindset ready and prepped to be a great investor. And then of course, the money. How'd you make sure you had your finances in order to be able to be ready to tackle that?
How do we have our finances in order?
I'm interviewing you, okay? Right. Go with me.
I got it. It was, if you're married, it's a plan. And it's a concerted effort that you're going to set aside a certain amount of money to invest, right? And understanding that there's income that you have to have for your family, right? There's income that you have to have for savings, but then there's also income that you have to have for investing, and making sure that you have those pockets of money, that you identify what money you're going to get risky with and what money you're not going to get so risky with, and make sure that you set yourself up for the opportunities that are going to come. I remember I bought my first piece of real estate. Well, I bought my first house back in 2001. And I bought my first investment property, I believe, like 2 years after that. Something told me like in 2006 or 7 to sell that property, right? It was cash flowing. It was a good property. I was a horrible landlord, but when it comes to real estate, I have feelings, right? It's not just about the numbers. I have feelings. I felt like the market was going to do something crazy. So I sold that property, right? And I think we ended up pocketing maybe about $150,000. And that was the preparation for us to go and do what we did when the market pulled back. Yeah. It takes preparation, guys. Like, no one wants to sell real estate, but when you're selling real estate to level up, to go do something else, all I'm doing is reallocating money. Right. So I'm looking at things from a holistic perspective. If I'm selling something, I never get too emotionally attached to it, because I'm selling something to be able to buy something bigger that's going to cash flow better. And I know for a fact, had we not sold that property, we probably wouldn't have bought our first apartment building, which we'll go over here in a second.
Yeah, it's great. All right. So first things first, invest in yourself, get your knowledge, get your mindset ready, and understand your finances so you can get those in order. Okay. All right. The next thing you talked about, you said that, before you could really start moving on the money, you started investing in your relationships, right? How pivotal were having the right people in your corner at the time you needed them for you during this entire wealth building career of yours?
Yeah, they were all pivotal. I learned really quickly the value of paying professionals. Yeah. Versus the value of just having people that I could just call for advice. Yeah. And it was a shift probably about 3 years ago that we like, it was the first time that I paid like $250 for someone's time. Like it was literally like a half an hour. It was $250. I sat down. I was like, yo, I want to pluck your brain. And it was one of the more important meetings that I had because it educated me on some things that I needed to be educated on. But what I wasn't doing is I was just calling in favors. And I wasn't, they would give me 5 minutes, but when you pay a professional to sit down and be like, yo, I want you to craft this plan, that was the shift between like relationships and true like people that I can lean on to get advice and guidance.
Yeah. Would you also say that, when you're paying someone to get advice and guidance, you become better prepared too, right?
I'm better prepared.
Yeah, right. Because when you actually are just asking people for their opinion or their thoughts on something, you just ask a random question. You don't really come with the actual plan. Whereas when you actually are engaging with a professional, you come with a plan because you understand that time is money. And that helps you to be better positioned to actually execute on your plan, right? Instead of you kind of just shooting from the hip.
Yeah, so just kind of think about it, guys. Like who I think is one action item is write down who you need to pay for their time, right? And if their time is cheap, then that's not the person that's going to help you get to your next level. Like if like you should pay premium value for premium information. And that's the difference between someone who dabbles and someone who's a professional.
Yeah. What other relationships do you think were super important? I know that we listed here, like, making sure you understand who your partners are, who you can partner with, making sure you have your legal entities tight so you have the best opportunity for the use and the longevity of your real estate portfolio. Then, of course, your tax planners, your tax advisors, and your accountants to make sure that what you're investing in is going to be something you can utilize to offset some of your costs in the now. Yeah.
So my partnerships, the people, so a couple of the deals that we'll show you, we have 50-50 partners. And those relationships came from giving to those relationships. So the partner that we have with all the apartment buildings, I remember selling him a bunch of real estate that I probably should have bought myself. Right. And I remember having a conversation with my dad. I was like, yo, this is a good time. I should buy all this stuff. He was like, well, if you want to grow, you need partners. And to have partners, you got to bring something to the relationship. So there are a lot of agents on this call and a lot of people out there. If you want to invest in a partnership, you got to give something to that partnership. So when I came to him and I was like, look, this is the plan. This is what I want to do. I had a whole like data set of value that I added to his life, right? He knew who I was. We had been around our families. I had given something significant. I think I sold him 5 or 6 properties that I should have bought myself, right? But I was sewing into that partnership, not really like knowing that we were going to end up doing those deals, but knowing that this was a person that I wanted to do more life with, right? So you agents out there, you're referring people to certain people. Make sure you're referring those people to people that you want relationships with in 5 years that can take you to the next level. Popularity doesn't matter when it comes to money, right? You got to make sure that you're investing in things and people that you're like, oh, in 10 years, I know I'm going to want to have a relationship with that person because of X, Y, Z and what they do. What can I do now to sew into that relationship so that when that phone rings, when my number comes, I got relationship capital that I can spend.
Yeah, that's good. That's awesome.
So the other things I'll tell you real quick. I spent some time, and I kind of brought these out here real quick. I spent a whole lot of time with engineers. This is a house that we never built, that we spent time that we never built, right? But and these plans cost like $5,000, right? But the lessons that I learned from going through here and the relationships that I had going through this deal right here helped me in other deals, right?
Yeah.
Because I was willing to spend. I think we spent, and I remember when Crystal said it, she was like, Alan, you spent like $7,500 and we ain't even do nothing yet. And I was like, no, this person is going to be valuable for us so that when I do have deals, I can call them and within like a day, I got an opinion.
Yeah. And it's not even just the person, right? It was just the knowledge that we learned, right? I think that sometimes we can get a little skewed in our logic when we're willing to invest in education that ends in us having a degree or a piece of paper. I think sometimes we don't invest in the education that literally can help us move a mountain tomorrow, right? And I think that, what I learned from that process was that you're investing not only in the people in that relationship, but you're investing in giving yourself the knowledge you need for your next opportunity, right? So everything that we're learning through that process, even if we didn't move forward with it, it gave us what we needed to move forward on other projects and other opportunities. Okay. So, all right. So 1 and 2, invest in yourself, invest in great relationships. And then we're going to get right into what really is Mr. AJ Allen Johnson investing in right now. So we know that you're investing in land.
Raw land.
Yep. We know that you're investing in doing ground up construction. So basically controlling the capital, controlling the building.
Yeah.
And then of course you are investing in apartment buildings because you are running a very profitable Airbnb model. So we will jump specifically into each of those items and he'll talk a little bit more about why he chose these 3 segments at this time.
Yeah. So raw land, it felt like for me, it was a less complicated deal.
Yeah.
When I was getting into buying and flipping and all that type of stuff, it was like, man, it's like, I got to figure out the house. I got to go by there. I think this raw land, we probably went by there 7 times.
Yeah.
Right. It's up the street here in Northern Virginia. I went by there 7 times. I probably had about 6 hours of conversation with engineers and all that good stuff. And we were intending to build our home on this. And it was a deal that we got through a handwritten letter because we were looking for a piece of land to build our next house.
Yep.
It was I knew from all of the work that I did with the engineer, right, that it was a good piece of land. Right. So I'd spent like $7,500 understanding what a good piece of land was. Right. So I was already pretty convinced that this was something that was valuable. I just needed to figure out like what the best exit strategy was. Right. So as you guys know, the market shifted. Right. This project took about a year, right, from when we bought it to when we sold it. And the market changed. Right. So and for us, we were like, well, we're not totally convinced we want to build our house on here, but I know someone can build a house. So let's just pivot to building a house and selling a house. And we were like, that sounds good, but I think we would have ended up, if we did that, we probably would have made like $150,000. And this just felt like a lot easier money, right? You see the numbers at the bottom, right? $92,000. But what I see is the $7,500 before that I had the relationship with the engineer to help me get there. I see the plans, the plans that I spent like, $5,000 on. And I see the level of experience around raw land that I never would have gotten helping someone else buy and sell that I got on my own. So now I know more about raw land. I can analyze raw land anywhere. Like, so here's, if you guys have any raw land that somebody wants to sell, call me. Like I'm extremely interested in buying raw land. I think that it's a great place to park money, especially if your money's not really doing much.
Yeah.
And you see the profit. It's 135. We went through all the engineering studies and to build our own house. We ended up selling it, I believe, in like 2 weeks, all cash, and made a nice profit. And I see the education more so than anything. Yeah. So I think I call Crystal like probably once a month. I'm like, yeah, we bought another lot. We bought another lot. I'm buying all types of stuff, all types of dirt. Some I flip, a lot I hold. And we'll talk a little bit about that with the new construction. But get into the chat. What questions do y'all have about raw land so I can make sure that we answer that before we step off of this?
Yeah, or even the Q&A.
Yeah, get in the Q&A action. I'm sorry. Get into the Q&A because I believe the chat is enabled.
Yeah, I think if a lot of you are listening to different types of real estate investing podcasts and things of that nature, I'm sure you've been hearing the reoccurring theme of buy dirt, right? Because at the end of the day, we know that the housing market is going to go through its cycles and it's always still a good time to buy, right? But buying dirt is really a great strategy right now. And if you can find some great dirt that's buildable, then you can win.
Yeah. So I'm buying Malcolm. I am holding it. I got lots that I've been holding for like 5 years. We got lots that we've been holding for like 25 years. I'm just very interested in holding dirt. Like I look at it as cash almost. You know, I look at it as like a commodity. I look at it as like
Actually better than cash at this point, right? It's still building value way better than our inflated dollar is right now. So
yeah, and you could be surprised. Like people always think that you have to buy land that you can do something with. That's the only way it's valuable. A lot of the stuff that we've been flipping are adjacent pieces of parcels to people who own land, and they just want to own that dirt too, right? You know, so you know, especially like you know, and I'm talking to our people right now. Like we got dirt that has been in families forever. You got to find a way to be able to keep it or like do something. You got to hold on to that, right? Because there's so many people who like let like valuable land go because they just haven't put a plan together or they just don't have the acumen. So you can get educated on that stuff. Are you buying acreage or lots? I'm buying both. Where did you connect with your engineer? I called local builders, Karen. So I literally like a buddy of mine who's a builder. I was like, yo, who do you know? I think I went to like 2 or 3 people and I found my guy. Like my guy, he retired. And I was like, yo, like you retired? He was like, no, I got somebody else for you. And I called him for a while and he just kind of like has mentored me. We come from completely different backgrounds, but I invested in that relationship. I call him like once a quarter. How you doing, Ned? What's going on? He's like, and I hear a story about what he's doing in his house, and we'll have lunch, but I'm deep in investing in relationships because you just never know when you're going to need them. All right.
Yeah.
What improvements did you make on the land to improve the sales price? Aaron,
just the studies.
Yeah, I did the studies.
That's it.
So yeah, I did the studies. What criteria makes dirt buildable? That's a loaded question. Jala. What makes dirt buildable is dirt that that the county says that you can build some type of structure on. And generally, you can get about 50% of the way if you got the right knowledge, but you need that other 50% to confirm that knowledge.
Yeah.
Right. So we knew we could build something on this lot, but we didn't know exactly what. Yeah. Right. And then oftentimes if you want the best deal, and you're paying cash, people might not give you the time to do the study period. So generally when I'm buying dirt, if I don't know, I'm trying to get a study period. In this case, I think I got like a 2-week study period, but I was able to fly through it quick. Like, cause I had the relationships. I had a guy that like would just go through and look, you know, and do the engineer that would do the work for me.
Yeah. I would just say, if you don't have the relationships already, work on building them, but make sure you have your study period in place. And then make sure that when you see lots that you think you want to buy, once you have your relationship, bring them out there right at the time where you're thinking about writing that offer. They can already give you probably, you know, the people who are experts, they can tell you probably about 85% whether or not you're going to be ready to go and you should buy that piece of land.
And right? you should already know, like if you're going to buy in a county, you should have already done your research on what's buildable and what's not. Like, and that's the thing, like you got to go micro. Like I knew this dirt because we were planning on building in this area. So I had done all the research, but when you start spreading yourself really wide, it's hard to know what's buildable and what's not. So you got to go really micro, right? Really micro, like one county, one area. You spread yourself, then you got to learn like 7 or 8, 9, 10 different municipalities. You can maybe have to have 2 or 3 different engineers. You're not going to be able to get it done. Yeah. So we really focus on really hyper local. All right. What do you mean by raw land? Raw land is just like land that's undeveloped land that has trees on it.
There hasn't been anything done to it. They haven't done any soil tests. They did nothing.
Right. Cool. Okay. Hope we answered all y'all's questions there.
All right. So this is probably the one that we've seen the best return on. And this is where, you know, you went in and you hand wrote again. So if there's a theme in this, you know, it's sometimes difficult to find great opportunities just sitting there waiting for you, right? You're not going to have the best investment opportunities just located on the MLS, right? They're not waiting for you to come get them. You got to go source some of your best deals. So first, let's talk a little bit about your strategy with your apartment buildings through the Airbnb. First, how did you acquire the buildings? And then 2, how did you know it was a good deal?
Yeah, it was a relationship with a banker that I started talking to 2 years before I even got this loan. So I remember the conversation. I was like, hey, I'm buying and flipping. I'm using you guys. What do you think my next evolution should be? And we sat down and we just kind of unpacked it. He was like, he gave me some ideas. And I was like, yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. And I was like, I'm just going to go buy some apartment buildings. Right. So I wrote some letters, kept writing some letters, getting the answers, and finally got a call back from someone who wanted to sell their property because dad passed, 3 siblings wanted to get rid of the property. And I was the person who wrote a letter. Now, my letter was different, right? It wasn't like, I'll buy your home. It was like, hey, I'm an investor. I'm in the area. I really tailored it. And I went micro. Like, I didn't go wide. Like, I knew exactly what 2 zip codes I was going to focus on.
Yeah.
And I think I was sending out maybe about 150 letters. Most people send out like 5,000. I was like, look, I'm going to focus really tight because I want to make sure that I know this market when this opportunity comes.
Yeah.
My partner was one of those people. And I'll tell you, man, there are a lot of people that want to partner with us. You got to be, number one, a good person. You got to bring something to the table because you can't just partner with anybody. Like, you just can't partner with anybody. I'll just leave that at that. And we saved our money. This was the deal that we sold the other investment property for. Didn't know that this opportunity was going to come. Yeah. And I didn't do a 1031 tax-free exchange. I paid my taxes, but I wanted the money like setting to the side. And that's what kind of set us up. And then the other deals that have come have actually been from like other agents. Yeah. Like other agents have been really good referral sources. And, it's funny when we get into these referral groups, I see people that are like, that are competing against each other. And I see like, these are people I need to make connections with that are in my market because they may run across stuff that they might want to buy. And for me, a home sale is valuable, but a deal on a home that I can buy is way more valuable. So I'm willing to sacrifice that referral and not be anal in the referral chat, right? Yeah. So I can get opportunities to get something that's a lot bigger in legacy building.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's look a little bit more at, these apartment buildings, and why did you decide to do the Airbnb model with these apartments units that you bought versus just doing a traditional rental?
I thought it fit the model of what we did for our sales business. So we still haven't Jala. You got a job to do. You need to make sure that we start marketing these things to get more real estate sales. But I also knew that it was a need. Yeah. Right. Wherever we went, we always Airbnb. Yeah. Like we go to Aruba, we Airbnb, Turks, Airbnb. And I knew it was a thing. And I also knew it was an experience. So it just made sense. And the right partner helped because he does all the management. My job is acquisition. My job is higher level stuff, making sure relationships are there, finding the deals. But his job is making sure that the management and the actual construction is done. So we make a really, really good team. And I remember when I brought it to him, he's like, oh no. But these deals,
probably one of the bigger deals that we had to put together, right?
Yeah, these deals are the deals that got him into real estate full time.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, you want to give people a little sneak peek at what you've done with these Airbnb?
Yeah. So let me
see if I can click over here. It's making my life a little difficult.
Here you go. So check it out. We got 8 that are online right now. Yeah, click on one.
Click on one.
We got 8 that are online right now. They're in Arlington. And I'm going to tell you, agents out there that are on the call, if you refer us a client, right, then we will give you a free weekend in our Airbnb, right? So you refer us a client, we're going to give you a free weekend in the Airbnb. And you know what? I'll extend that to our clients. You refer us a client, guys, we're going to give you a free weekend in our Airbnb.
We'll slide through this pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'll slide through that real quick.
So the units of like this building was built, what, 1940s?
It built in the 40s. Yeah. It was acquisition, I believe, was like, it was back in 2018, like 650. We put 250,000 in renovations in the building. They're phenomenal buildings. They're 1.5 miles from National Airport, 10 minutes to the middle of DC, parking, like just a really cool space. We did like an event for one of our client event there. So we went to go see the Neo concert. Yeah. And then we had our tailgate, our pregame, our pregame there, which is cool. So we're the one that we're going to do next month is at the newest building that we're bringing online. It's a full gut renovation in Arlington. So if you're excited about seeing that, make sure you sign up for it.
Okay. And I know that you wanted to share a little bit so that people have a better understanding on why the math works.
Yeah.
And, you know, the buildings that we're talking about right now are the 2 apartment buildings. So you can see they're basically next door to each other. So I know that you got the first one off a letter, and then the brother who owned the building next door also called and wanted to sell that one to you too, right?
Yeah. It's very important for you to be on site. It's very important for you to be cordial with people, right? Because you just never know. And because my partner is just a cool person, I always tell Willie, like the biggest compliment, he reminds me of my dad when he's on site, right? He's just nice, really cool. And the guy came out and he's like, hey, I saw what you did to that building. You know, I'm interested in selling mine. So we ended up buying the building next door. And if you guys can see that down low, like we get dispersed every year $60,000 each. So my partner gets 60,000, I get 60,000. He gets property management fees because we believe that if something were to happen, we would have to hire a property manager anyway, right? So I want my partner to get what he would normally get. Also, he's a general contractor. I want him to charge us like he ain't got to charge me all of it,
but not charge all.
Yeah, but charge me like, you know, because we got to know how these buildings perform if one of us aren't here.
Yep.
Right. And it's been a cash cow for us, man. So, you know, we're continuing to buy. If you know anybody who wants to sell an apartment building, specifically in Arlington, hit us because we buying. Awesome.
There's a couple more questions in the chat, so we want to go ahead and answer those questions. If there's more questions, go ahead and stick them in the chat and we'll try to answer really quickly. And we will get us out of here. We're a little bit over our time, so let's keep going.
All right. So next thing I'm doing, and I'll answer your question. Is it better to make these moves solo, no partnerships? For me, Daryl, I needed a partner because my bandwidth was like, it was bandwidth and money. Like I didn't want to go, and I wanted to kind of like, you know, I feel better when I got a really good partner. You got to have a great partner to bring someone to the table.
Yeah, and Daryl, I'll answer that question in the regards of it really is about bandwidth, right? You know, real estate for us is full time in terms of how we run our sales business, and it's also very it requires time to when you're an investor if you're active, right? So Alan talked a little bit earlier about being an active investor versus passive. When you're owning these types of buildings, you're pretty active, right? And you're going to need a partner that can actually be available the way that they need to in order for you to still do another part of business that you may be taking care of. So that's why we think partnerships are important. Perhaps if you're doing something on a smaller scale or a little bit different and you have more time and finances to dedicate to it, then you can probably do it solo.
Yeah, so the smaller deals, Daryl, we'll do on our own. And sometimes I do smaller deals with my partner just so he deserves easy wins too, right? I want to make sure that I bring him the easy and the more complicated deals because we should be able to share in all of those things. Do you write letters? Who do you write letters to? I'm very specific in who I write letters to, Aaron. I'm like, my buy box is for these are 4 to 16 units in a very specific zip code, right? So I only source those and that's it. How do you source for Airbnb properties?
We're not really sourcing for an Airbnb property. We're sourcing for an apartment building, right? And then we're seeing whether or not that county allows, right, for short-term rentals and what kind of the rules and regulations are around it. But we're not specifically saying, hey, I need to find an Airbnb property. I'm specifically saying, hey, I need to find an apartment building that has multiple units that will allow me from the county regulation to run an Airbnb. And then that's how we kind of look at it. So it's kind of like, what's the property first? And then can that property accommodate the Airbnb that we're looking for?
Right. All right. Last but not least, we're doing ground up construction. Central Virginia, 2 up.
Central
2 down, baby. 2 up, 2 down. I'm a country boy. She a country girl. And what we found with the ground up construction, it was just too expensive to do it in Northern Virginia. Like I learned really quickly through this.
We learned fast.
Through this, that this wasn't it. This wasn't it. This wasn't a great allocation of cash. So we went 2 hours out. My partner there is obviously my dad. And my job is to fund the deals and to give the higher level perspective on what we do. So I negotiate with the banks. You know, I'm negotiating the deals. I'm doing the higher level things. He's boots on the ground. This is an opportunity that we had. We literally just settled on at the end of the year. And I always tell Chris, I'm like, yo, I need you to send $170,000. And she's like, for what? And I'm like, trust me, it's a good deal. Like, it's got to have that level of trust. But all of our land acquisitions, guys, we're using cash. It is very hard to acquire land with a loan. Very hard to acquire land with a loan. And you won't get the deals that you need if you're using a loan. Now, you could use a home equity line on your property, right? or, but you have to, if you are going to buy land, you got to have access to cash, or you got to buy something where it's really cheap so you can still buy it for cash. So we bought this for $170,000. It was a house that was, it's in Waynesboro, Virginia. It was a house that had a gas leak and literally a gas explosion. Lady wanted to sell it. She wanted to sell it for an exorbitant price. Again, dad got a call because he's always in the community doing the right things, doing right by people. She said she wanted to sell it. It took a year to negotiate the deal. So I was talking to my dad literally once every 2 years. You hear from the lady? Okay, cool. What's the number? All that good stuff. So we knew when we bought this prior to that we were going to build duplexes. Why? Because we had done the work, we had done the research on other things, and our buy box was really small. We bought in the same city. We knew the size of the lots. We had a relationship with the engineer where we could call him and be like, hey, take a look at this property. What can we do? Right. So we already had, like, if you go wide, this is not going to work. You got to go super, super micro, super small. So we knew we could build 3 duplexes, 6 doors. The final build out of all of the 3 duplexes, they're about, I think, like 1,400 square feet on each side. Is going to be 730, so we'll be all in at 900,000. If you we're going to leave the $170,000 into the deal, and we're going to finance 730. Which the payment on that, including the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. So that's what PTI means, guys. Principal, interest, taxes, and insurance is about just under $6,300. We know from the fact that we own properties down there and they're already rented out that we can get $1,700 each side, which brings us to $10,200. And you guys can see what the cash flow is after everything. Pretty good, right?
And that doesn't even take into account, the taxable benefits of owning this property and the write-offs and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, I think that what I want to make sure that I highlight to you guys is there's a difference between passive and active, right? There's a difference between passive and active. And that deal was something that we could be active in, right? So I believe our return on investment, if I take, and let's do some numbers real quick. So here's how I do return on investment, guys.
There's a whiteboard, maybe.
So for return on investment, we'll just do it on your joint real quick. So for return on investment, how much cash do I have to put down? Am I putting in, and how much cash flow do I get over the entire year? So if I take that, just take $4,000 and multiply it times 12. What is that?
48,000.
So that's 48,000 in positive cash flow, right? And then I take that and I divide it into what I put out, which is 170 in cash. Okay. That's not it. So go 48,000 divided by 170. There we go. 28% cash on cash return. Great lane for us. But that's active. And I think that's the thing I want to make sure you guys know. If you're not actively working on a real estate deal, you are not going to get those numbers. Active meaning you're the sub. Active meaning your boots on the ground. Active meaning that you're doing the work. Active meaning that there's no one in between the actual product and you're not going to get 28% returns, right? So if you're going passive, guys, if you're like, hey, I just want to put my money into a deal, you can only expect somewhere between 8 and 10%. So if you're
still good money.
It's great money. It's great money for you not to do nothing, right? You not to do anything. It's great money, right? But I want to make sure that you guys understand the difference is if you're active, then you can expect more. If I'm active working in a deal, then I got to get like 20% or more, right? Because I'm working. But if I'm passive, I'm just giving somebody $200,000. I'm like, here, take this money, give me a return on my investment. 8 to 10% is good, right? So that's just the way that you can start to measure whether the deal is worth your time or not, because not every deal is worth your time. You got to know what your ratio is and what that means to you. All right.
We're going to be wrapping up. So if you have any questions, stick them in the chat. But just really quickly, our next seminar is going to be our on-site seminar. So we will not catch you on the webinar. So if you want to attend that seminar, I'm going to send a link out so you will get that before the end of this week. Today's Wednesday, to be able to register. There are only 20 slots. So apartment buildings aren't that big. So we can't have too many people in there. And it is actively under construction right now in terms of our renovations and getting prepared for our next Airbnb unit. So I'll send that out. First come, first serve, register, and we'll see you in person in April.
Yep. All right. Any more questions before we get up out of here? Karen, we bought our first piece of property in December with a partner. We're now in the process of trying to build 8 units, either tiny homes or container units. Any advice about going into this phase? Hire a professional, right? The trying to figure out thing is not something that you should be doing. You need to hire a professional. What I would also do is I would have a conversation with your local politician, whoever represents that area, that district, and see what their appetite is. Sell them on your plan, because if there's any type of rezoning or anything that needs to be done, they're going to have to be on board anyway. And that's the thing that most people leave out. You have to go, if you're trying to change zoning or you're trying to do something that's bigger, go to the local politician now and say, hey, look, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm doing it for FAMU students. I just want to see what your appetite is for it, or any things that you would like to see. That way, you're on the same page.
Yep. And then I also just say, be patient, right? So we are developing a 15-unit townhouse complex also in Waynesboro. And I'll tell you, it's been a process. So, right. So stay patient, stay the course. Don't get discouraged. Like, there's a lot of engineering costs and fees and just studies that go into it. And you're going to get kicked back from the local jurisdiction on a regular basis with them improving your plans. So just make sure you just stay the course, stay focused, and just, have your appetite ready to be able to, go through some of the pains that go along with it, knowing that there's going to be a great opportunity on the other side of that.
Yep. Cool. All right. We're about to go have some tacos. It's Taco Wednesday. That don't sound right, does it?
It doesn't. We miss Taco Tuesday. So it is what it is. Thanks for joining us tonight, guys. Hope you got a lot of information out of this. Let us know what you want to hear next, but we will see you next time. So thanks so much. Oh, books that I should read. There's so many.
Anything. I'm serious, anything, anything that tickles your interest. I got a gang of books, all these books back here or back here. I tell you what, books.
Yeah.
Let me think. I'm gonna give you some real tactical. So it depends on what you want to do. Right. So I want to get in development. So I read Don Peoples' book. Very few Black developers out there. So I wanted to read that just to hear the story. But most of the blocking and tackling, this tactical stuff, I get from podcasts, and I get from those professional relationships. So I would tell you, make a list of people that you need to pay for their time. Mm-hmm. Right now, make a list of the people that you need to pay for their time, and allocate part of your budget to paying for that time, right? Because if you don't do that, it's too late when you need them. Mm-hmm. It's too late. You want that relationship well before. So when I call my engineer, literally, I can show you, I saw a piece of dirt that I liked in Springfield. I called my engineer that I already had paid that $20,000. Mm-hmm. He saw my evidence. Within a week, I had a whole layout of how to make an offer, and that's unheard of. A whole exactly what I needed to do, what I need to think about, my next steps. But that came from the relationships, and we don't like to pay for relationships, and that's why you have not gotten where you want to go, because you have not paid for enough relationships to give you that information that gets you past there. I don't know nothing about engineering. But I got somebody who I can call who's used to seeing Alan Johnson in his emails, who's used to seeing Alan Johnson write checks, who's used to seeing Alan Johnson call, that I can call and have that relationship with, right? So go find those relationships. I think they're far more important than reading those books. Make sure I got everybody. You guys rock. Cool. What up, Jennifer? How you doing? We got some really cool clients. A couple of our really cool clients, and I can't see everybody, but AJ, I love you, sis. Jen, I love you, and all the agents on BRN, we love you guys too. All right, look, she's telling you, you better send us some referrals. Tell them.
Listen. Only thing I need, because I want to give you everything that we got, right? Make sure you're thinking about us when you have opportunities for any type of business, for our clients, for our agent partners here on the phone. Think about the AJ team, DC, Maryland, Virginia, and we'll see you guys next time.
Peace, guys.
See ya.